So here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk live Monday afternoon, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news, share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who were able to join us for the live portion. And naturally, if you're listening anywhere else and you wanted to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat and fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. So, of course, I do try to read through as many of the comments as is reasonable, and I'll say hello to some of the people that have joined us for the live portion so far. I see Helter is with us today, as well as Dragon. Caps. Jimmy is here. Jeff is here. Hello to everyone else who is watching and is not able to chime in, because I know a lot of people are listening, and I also know a lot of people chime in after the fact. They see the video. More people watch it afterwards than during. I'll tell you, and I'll try to remember at the end to remind everyone that tomorrow I will be on at noon, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Coffee Talk for Tuesday, 12 p.m. And also something I wanted to say about the Prepper University too. Sven is here, as well as Tuck. I try to the whole idea behind the Coffee Talk podcast is it's supposed to be on Coffee Talk, and I spread it over to simultaneously broadcasting it on Prepper University as well, really to help keep that channel alive, because it had gotten buried so badly for a channel that was actually pretty big. Again, there's still 66,000 subscribers over there. But if I put out a natural video, a normal video, nobody sees it. I think the last regular video I put up has around 300 views, which doesn't make any sense. The podcast still gets more views over there than the videos do. And it gets more views than the videos on Coffee Talk. 2/3, sometimes 3/4 of the total podcast views are actually on Prepper University, even though I've asked people, subscribe to Coffee Talk on the Coffee Talk channel so that I can move away from that. And I'm going to have to, try to get back into that again. So that's right there is the Coffee Talk. That's the Coffee Talk live channel. If you're watching on Prepper University, please do subscribe to Coffee Talk so I can start moving the podcast back exclusively to the Coffee Talk channel, and then concentrate more on prepping, survival, bushcraft, and homestead kind of stuff on the Prepper channel, which is what it originally was doing. And like I said, it got killed because YouTube killed the channel, and I was broadcasting on both channels really just to keep that channel alive for a while. And I would like to get back to doing that exclusively on Prepper University. Not immediately. I'll give everybody a chance, because like I said, if I get 200 views on Coffee Talk, there'll be 600 on Prepper University. But then if I put a natural video on Prepper University, nobody sees it. I don't know how the hell ScrewTube has it worked out for me, except for that they want to ruin the channel, but what are you going to do? I see Monkey has joined us. Glad you could pop in today. Before we get to the thumbnail, I know you're probably curious about what the hell I'm talking about in that thumbnail. Trust me, there is a story. There is a story, but I wanted to share this first. And this is a Fox Business article, okay? And I'll be talking about all this to that intermittently throughout the week. But here you go. I saw this originally when it was a post on social media. This is a guy who just for social media, just for shits and giggles, talked about his Disneyland experience or Disney World experience and how expensive it was and how it really wasn't worth it. And it's gotten to the point now where this is national news. Peter says live videos rank differently, evidently. But here, Florida dad left stunned by $1,400 price tag for a day at Disney World. And again, I did see this original, his original, like whatever it was, video on social media. It says, happiest place on earth facing growing criticism for becoming one of the most expensive. A Florida father speaking out after a one-day visit to Orlando's Walt Disney World with his wife and 3 children cost him nearly $1,400, a price he says is probably not worth it. Quote, it started with the ticket purchase and then it ran right into the parking and then it was just like a cash cow for the rest of the day, says small business owner Craig Stowell. Okay. In a video that quickly went viral, it did, Stowell broke down the cost of the trip. $30 for parking, which is already obscene. $974 for 5 tickets using a Florida resident discount. So he got discounted tickets. They're usually more expensive. 2 adults and 3 children. $245 for dinner. I saw that. The street food in the park was already expensive enough. The sit-down restaurant was $245 plus tip. I think it was $10.95 to get a Coke from the Coke machine in the video, if I remember this correctly. He says, trying to put a price tag on versus value, what's it worth? The lines were so long. We already paid we're already $1,000 deep into the park. Now we're going to drop another $400 to get lightning passes. And he did not take the lightning passes, by the way. The lightning passes to skip the lines. He did not opt for the lightning passes, or else this would be damn near $2,000 for the trip just for the day. And Random Blip has joined us. And Tuck says he's been unsubscribed. Yeah, that happens. I hear that a lot. Peter says SEO matters a lot. You can do to improve ranking. Maybe. I mean, I did a video on Coffee Talk talking about that. All of that YouTube guru stuff, none of that shit works. None of it, nothing changes with the stuff that they tell you to do. I've not noticed any change whatsoever trying anything that I've seen on any of those services. But yeah, so if he had taken the lightning passes, which you still have to wait in line, by the way, it would have been another $400. So he would have been into it for $1,800 plus whatever it cost him to drive up there and everything else. It just doesn't make any sense. And I agree, that's too expensive. And from his perspective, he didn't think that it was worth the value at all for what they got out of it and what they did there. And I have to imagine. And it's been like that for a long time. I've never been there. My wife has. When she was a kid, she had been there. And she said it was nice then, but that would have been in the 80s. Tuck says he's a native Floridian and he despises Disney. It's just not the same, is it? Cyberjack Sr. has joined us, as well as Fluke Man. And JJ suggests at some point Disney will price itself out of the market. That is very likely. That is possible, because is it worth it? How much do you need to spend to have a good time on a vacation, as opposed to what? Any other theme park? There are other theme parks out there that you could go to, that you could spend the day at, that you might have a good time at. Hell, there's local carnivals that come around. Oh, and by the way, everyone said it wouldn't happen. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people said it wouldn't happen, and the media said it wouldn't happen, and Democrats said it wouldn't happen. because they oppose anything that anything that Trump does, period. But here's your China trade deal. They've been talking about it all day. Talking about it all day long. And this is a Stockwitz article. China hails U.S. trade deal as good news for the world. And Trump declares there'll now be a total reset. So there you go. China has confirmed progress in its trade talks with the U.S. following 2 days of diplomatic level meetings in Geneva over the weekend. A statement posted on the Chinese Commerce Department's website said that Vice Premier He Lifeng, who also led the Chinese delegation, said at a press conference the weekend trade talks were candid, in-depth, and constructive. He also confirmed U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessett's comments that the two sides have reached a vital consensus and made substantial progress. The U.S. and China have agreed to establish a joint economic and trade consultation mechanism. Li Feng said the two nations would finalize the relevant details as soon as possible and issue a joint statement on Monday regarding the agreement that has been reached at those talks. The vice premier said, through the joint efforts of China and the United States, the talks have been fruitful, taking an important step in resolving differences through equal dialogue and consultation, laying the foundation and creating conditions for further bridging differences and deepening cooperation. Beijing also expressed willingness to work with the U.S. to actively implement the consensus reached between Chinese President Xi Jinping and his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump during a phone call January 17th. Everybody said this wasn't going to happen. China folded faster than they did last time that Trump was president. Folded faster than last time. I'll put that up, Peter. I don't think I can say that. YouTube will get me. Incredible. Cap says, I already subscribed to the other channel. I missed the honest videos. They are so good. On Prepper University. Yeah, like I said, I'm trying to get Prepper University back to its core function. Again, I podcast the Coffee Talk to both channels really because it was necessary to keep Prepper University on life support. But I'd like to get back to the core value of that channel again, even if nobody is watching. You know what I mean? JJ says, for a few grand, I'd rather spend a full week at a Costa Rican resort. You got kids, take them to Chuck E. Cheese. They'll be just as happy as if they went to Disneyland. It won't cost you $2,000. Tuck says he doesn't even like Orlando. That entire area is one of the parts of Florida I will not live. I've been there for extended periods for work. Well, you know, I think every state has those areas that you just, you don't want to actually live there. But yeah, there we are. U.S. Treasury Secretary, hold on, also said that Trump had been appraised of all the happenings. There will be a complete briefing Monday morning. So they're not wasting too much time with this. Posting on his Truth Social account, Trump said a total reset negotiated in a friendly but constructive manner. We want to see, for the good of both China and the U.S., an opening up of China to American business. Great progress made, he added. Great progress made. And again, we've been hearing this for months. We've been hearing this for months. Last couple of months when the tariff thing started. This works. He's primarily doing it for intimidation, to force these people to come back to the table to negotiate. Okay? To force these people to negotiate. And it's working, even with a big bully like China, because they really don't have too much of a choice in the long run. And they must realize he's serious, because he's already done this to them the last time. He's already done it to them the last time around. And here you got your confirmation. China is saying, yeah, okay, we're coming to a conclusion here. So hopefully that works out. Nobody pulls back, or it doesn't get weird, because you never know. You are dealing with a communist government that likes to pretend like it's free trade. Essentially, that's what it is. Essentially, that's what it is. There you go, Peter. He says the most neglected skill in prepping is physical preparation in the home gym. The subject is hardly touched on any channel, and if they do, the information is very poor. Hopefully, you can do a series. Sure. We have a gym. My wife and I work out 5 days a week, cardio and weight training. We do it together. We do it together. Well, what you've been getting in the news is garbage like this. And I want to share this with you, okay? This is what I've been seeing from the media, and I think this is hilarious. And I'm going to show you why in a minute. And this is an article that comes from Siliv.com, okay? It says, exporter warns that U.S. toilet paper shortage could be on the way due to tariffs, okay? So it says supply chain disruptions due to new tariffs could soon result in a shortage of toilet paper, warns Brazilian pulp exporter Suzano Sa, according to Bloomberg. The company is the world's largest exporter of pulp, an important ingredient in the manufacture of toilet paper. Its leadership says that in April it had 20% drop in shipments to the U.S. and also told Bloomberg that additional costs will be passed on to the American consumers. So they're trying to, in this article, make you feel like there's going to be a toilet paper shortage. Oh, you remember during COVID when you couldn't get toilet paper? You couldn't get toilet paper during COVID because everybody panicked and ran out and bought all the toilet paper, all the baby wipes, all the vitamins, and all of the bottled water. And they didn't need to. They didn't need to. Plus, if they were that short, that's their own damn fault because they should have been stocked up on it in the first place. Okay? And Raccoon has joined us. Glad you could make it today. All right. So they're trying to make you feel like there's going to be toilet paper shortages now coming up because of tariffs that have not even been imposed yet. But here's the definitive question, and I'm going to answer it for you here. Okay, we're going to look this up, and I'm going to show you about basically in the United States. Okay, let me pull this up for you. I'm going to close the other window while they're trying to tell you that we're about to run out of toilet paper. Right? How much toilet paper is made in the United States? Let's see. Here it comes. You see that? What does it say? 99% manufactured in the U.S. with supplies that are required in the United States. So yeah, we import some things, not that much. Not so much that it would make a difference if we didn't get another vat of pulp from Brazil or from Canada or anywhere else. We pulp it here and we make it here, 99%. But you're going to try to tell me that there's going to be a toilet paper shortage. Only if people are stupid. Only if people are stupid. Flukeman, Pakistan claims they shot down 2 Indian Rafale jets with Chinese-made J-10Cs. I didn't see that. And JJ said tax documents make a toilet paper substitute, albeit rough. Tax documents are rough no matter what you do. No matter what you do. But yeah, 99% of it is manufactured right here with pulp that is acquired in the United States. There are some offsets. And frankly, I don't know who made the deal that we would be importing pulp from Brazil. That can't be cheap. But that's the kind of news stories that we get. Doom and gloom. Doom and gloom. Maybe Canadian Prepper can run with that one. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Pretty soon, you're not going to be able to wipe your butt because of Donald Trump. Oh my God. Yeah, Peter, they can use rags. They can use rag. Oh my God. Say recycle the toilet paper. Yeah, you could. Or you could separate it. You could buy 2-ply and then separate it. I actually saw that. I saw that on this it was a long time ago, and it was a guy who's like super frugal is what they called it back in the day. This is like in the in the early 90s on one of those shows that was talking about people who do that sort of thing. And he would buy rolls of 2-ply toilet paper and he would split them and re-roll them into 2 smaller rolls to save money on how much toilet paper he buys. And I'm like, hey, jackass, one, that's very time consuming and your time is worth something. Okay. It's probably the most valuable thing you have. And 2, you're going to end up using twice as much anyways. The hell are you doing, moron? That is so stupid. Peter says, according to Canadian Prepper, we're already in World War V. And Sosa has joined us. Thanks for popping in today. Yeah, I know. I shouldn't pick because I'm not trying to feud with anybody. But yeah, I hear a lot. I don't watch that channel anymore. Not for a long, long, long time. But every time I hear anyone talk about it, it's like massive doom and gloom. Massive doom and gloom coming from that channel like it's the end of the freaking world. Chicken Little. You know what I mean? Luke says, but does all the materials and ingredients that's needed to manufacture toilet paper come from the U.S.? The majority of it, yes. We can do it here. We do it here. There are some things that we import as like overage, but not so much that if we never got another vat of pulp from Brazil again, it would ever make a difference. Tuck says, can't stand Canadian Panicker. He spread AGW propaganda in the past. I unsub from channels that associate. JJ says he got tired of that. Too much BS. Yeah. Well, I try to be positive. I try to be positive. I don't want to be negative. Life's hard, and not life itself. Life's actually not bad, but it's the people in it that make it hard. And there's enough complications as a result. There's enough complications in the world as it is without telling you it's the end of the world every time you turn around. And whenever I had a message like that on Prepper University, I get a mixed bag because I get a lot of people that are like, thanks for that. And I get a lot of other people that are like, well, you don't understand and you'll be sorry because you don't realize this and that. And then nothing happens. So suck it, as they say. Or DMX would say that. And then you gotta go like this. Suck it. Now this is what the thumbnail's all about right here. Okay. I've been seeing articles like this all weekend. Because guess what? Now apparently the Pope is black. You never would have guessed, would you? Because I gotta tell you, he don't look it. Does he look black to you? What do you think? Let me know. Apparently he's black. Or of color. At least he's a person of color. Yeah, I'm a person of color too. It's just not very dark. I mean, what does that mean? What does that mean? These people are crazy. So New York Post article, Pope Leo XIV is a person of color with surprising ancestry that traces back to Nolans, if you speak Zydeco. Pope Leo XIV's maternal grandparents were black or mixed and may have been of Creole descent, moving from New Orleans to Chicago in the turn of the 20th century, according to reports that were coming in on Friday. Okay. Maternal grandparents. So one of the grandparents may have been of Creole descent, may have been black or mixed. They're not sure. Which, after how many generations, would make him what, 6.25% at best? 6.25%. Is that right? Did I calculate that correctly? Or if if one grandparent was mixed, then that would put him at 3.12, correct? 3.12%. Can we really call him a person of color? You know, if you're a native Indian or you're a native Hawaiian, you can't even get a check if you're less than 50%. Did I miss something? Did I miss something? If he's black now. Okay. The family were free people of color prior to the Civil War. When they moved to Chicago between 1910 and 1912, they passed into the white world. Jari Honora, a historian at the Historic New Orleans Collection, told CNN about the new Pope's mother's parents. The Pope's maternal grandfather, Joseph Martinez, was described as a black cigar maker from Haiti. Not with a name Martinez, he wasn't. In some historical records, while other documents listed his birthplaces, the Dominican Republic or Louisiana, the New York Times said. So you don't know if this guy was black or mixed, and you don't know if he was from Haiti, the Dominican Republic, or Louisiana. But you're going to use it as a reference to claim that the Pope is a person of color. Did I miss something, or am I reading this wrong? You can see, some of you can see the article here. His maternal grandmother, Louise Barquis, if I pronounce that correctly, was born in New Orleans. According to documents, both Joseph Norvell Martinez and Louise Barquis, you just spelled it differently. First it was Barquix, now it's Barquis, which is correct. We're people of color, no doubt about it. Honora tells the Times. Do you have photographs? The Pope's brother, John Prevost, told the outlet that his paternal grandparents were from France. He looks more French than he does Haitian. Oh my God. He said his family did not identify as black. And I bet. And that he and his siblings didn't talk about their Creole ties. It was never an issue. You didn't talk about the Creole ties because you didn't want the Vatican to know about it. I'm just awful. Tuck suggests that his friend says the new Pope reminds him of Smeagol. No. You know who he looks like? You know who he looks like? Emperor Palpatine from the second trilogy, Star Wars. And he has that same raised eyebrow, innocent look on his face as he presses his hands together. The Jedi don't teach you everything. No, they don't. No, they don't. And Raccoon says they are really reaching for it just to pander. Yes. And Raccoon says her mother is Cajun, born in Alexandria, Louisiana, and she's mostly French. Yeah, Tuck suggests the new Pope is indeed part Mohican. Correct. Yeah, all you have to do is put some black robes on him. He's Emperor Palpatine. Oh my God. Feel the hate coursing through you. I am unarmed. Strike me down. Use your hate. Good, good. The Pope's newly revealed ancestry is just an additional reminder of how interwoven we are as Americans. Oh, isn't that sweet? I hope that it will highlight the long history of Black Catholics, both free and enslaved in this country. Are there Black Catholics enslaved in America? That's what it says. Unless they mean previously, which includes the Holy Father's family. Do you want to know why they're really doing this? You want to know why they're really doing this? The reason they're really doing this is because there has been, in the last couple of years, a very, very strong push from the Vatican on the headway they believe that they have made on the continent of Africa with Catholicism, and bringing more Africans, traditional Africans, to Catholicism, traditional Black tribal people. That's why they want to do this. That's the real reason. It's not because of anything in America. They'll use it in America, but the real reason is because of continental Africa. Continental Africa. Which I wouldn't be too proud of that, because I guarantee you that they're mixing their Catholicism with all sorts of voodoo bullshit. Because that's what happens in South America. Okay. It's a huge problem with South America with that, where there are a lot of Catholics, huge Catholic congregations in South America and in lower Northern America, but they mix it with things. Case in point, okay? My sister's father is Cuban, and his mother, in her apartment, had a shrine, okay? And in that shrine, she had all these statues of Mary and crucifixes and 2 coconuts on pedestals and a bottle of rum. And when she's praying there, she would take a mouthful of rum and spit it on the coconuts and throw pennies all over the place. I remember seeing her do this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. I know that Catholicism is full of a lot of pagan stuff, but I'm pretty sure they don't go that far. But you get a lot of that in the islands and in South America. And I'm willing to bet Africa too. How many videos of African Christian ministers you see having people drinking kerosene and eating grass? You can find them on YouTube. Fluke Man says, can't get a check for less than 50%. Is that money from casinos and Indian reservations funded by federal tax money? No, that is the federal government. The federal government pays Native Indians in the United States to basically be Indian. But the tribal councils won't recognize them if they're less than 50%. There's only so much mixing that they'll tolerate with anyone who's not a Native Indian, even though none of those tribes get along except in the council. I learned a lot about that when I lived in Kansas. Those tribal groups, they hate each other. They're some of the most prejudiced people you'll ever meet in your life, unfortunately. But the tribal councils, because that's where all the money is, will pretend like kumbaya, one big happy family, and that's bullshit. They don't get along. Tribe by tribe, they do not get along. And those councils pen those people down on those reservations and put them at odds with everybody because it pays to do so, especially if there's a freaking casino involved. Forget it. But yeah, if you're less than 50%, you're too diluted for the council to recognize, and you can't get your government check. And that has nothing to do with the casinos. Native Indian, you get a check. Native Hawaiian, you get a check. But there's a limit. Nature Nerd says Mexico mixed other religions with Catholicism. Correct. Oh, another one about, I shouldn't have mentioned Canadian. Caps says, I don't understand Canadian prepper. I've watched some of his videos and it's all pretty much the same thing. And I have watched his newest video about survival items under $100. Terrible video. And Fluke Man says, what, you get money for being Indian? Doge it. Yeah, you're not going to doge that. You're not going to doge that. You get a check. Peter says those on the council should be forced to live on the reservations also. Indeed. I wish All People was in here because he knows a lot more about that. But I learned a lot of that when I was living in Kansas. Because, yeah, I had Indians that worked with me, natives, when I worked at Walmart way back in the early 2000s. And when I was the manager of Family Dollar, I had a couple of Native Indians that were working for me when I was managing those stores. And yeah, they got a check. They got a check. And that's where I learned about the 50% thing too. It's like, yeah, if you're a half breed, you can still get your check. But if you're less than that, the Indian Council doesn't want to recognize you anymore. Doesn't want to recognize you. But there you go. Now the Pope is apparently a person of color. Isn't that convenient? And like I said, I suspect it's more so to do with the Catholic Church's Catholicism push going through continental Africa right now from the bottom up, because they're not going to have much to say in the Middle East. It's not going to be listened to by anybody up there. But traditional continental Africa, where you get your rather dark-skinned individuals, Catholicism has seen a big push over the last few years, and they're trying to ride that. And Nature Nerd says, yep, Trump gets trade deal. We talked about that at the very beginning. And signs executive order to reduce drug prices since he noted the medicine prices were way cheaper in Britain. They are. They're expensive here because they get away with charging it. They get away with charging it. And Sven says Catholic Church was a plague to early Indians, and it's absolutely horrific. Absolutely. And they're also pushing this. They're trying to make this an issue. NBC News article, can Pope Leo influence the nation's immigration debate? And here's another place where I do not agree with the Catholic Church, or the Catholic Church authority, I should say. As the first pope from the United States and a dual citizen of America and Peru, Pope Leo XIV, a native of the Windy City, just because he was born there doesn't make him a Chicagoan, is emerging as a symbol of hope for those seeking a more compassionate approach to immigration, standing in sharp contrast to President Trump's divisive policies. Doesn't he look black there? I'm telling you. I can't tell him apart from the average Jamaican. Oh my God. And by the way, the Catholic Church has been instrumental in perpetuating a lot of the border crisis because they were making billions for it. They were raking in billions for helping to facilitate it. Money they can't get anymore. Keeping people on the trail all through South America and up to our southern border through Mexico and across into the United States illegally. The Catholic Church aided and abetted that. I'll put that up from All People about the Dawes Cherokees. So their stance on it is, yeah, open everybody's border and let people pour in all over the place, which is a disaster. It has not worked out well for us at all. Despite their global influence, Leo and Trump represent starkly different visions, as Trump does everything in his power to deliver on his campaign promise of mass deportation. The newly elected Pope sent another message to the world when he chose his papal name. By choosing Leo XIV, the Pope made a deliberate nod to Pope Leo XIII, a champion of Catholic social teaching and a defender of human dignity during the Industrial Revolution. The choice reflects a commitment to justice and equality, echoing the struggles of workers and immigrants. That's not what these people are. These people coming across the border right now are not immigrants looking for work and looking to integrate into society. And never make the mistake, excuse me, never make the mistake, which the media loves doing, of comparing illegal immigrants from today's standard to working immigrants from the Industrial Revolution and settlers who originally came to this country. There's a stark difference between all three. Don't let the media tell you, oh, America was settled by immigrants. No, it was settled by settlers who built from the ground up. Excuse me again. That's Catholic social teaching, which was founded by Pope Leo XIII over a century ago, said Father Brendan Curran, echoing the struggles of workers and immigrants. Incredible. Catholic social teaching affirms the right of individuals to migrate in pursuit of safety and dignified life. It also acknowledges that no country is obligated to accept every individual who seeks to resettle there, according to the U.S. Confederacy or Confederates of Catholic Bishops. Nonetheless, nations are called to regulate their borders with justice and mercy. Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Justice and mercy. Well, we can very mercifully turn them back around and send them where they came from. Without the Catholic Church getting billions of dollars in tax revenue to do it. Not from the United States. Excuse me. Nature Nerd says he heard Catholic Church is struggling with finances. How is this possible when they have billions in cash over the centuries? Well, that's what it says on paper. It doesn't mean they don't have that money. And Lucky wants to know, does the Vatican have walls and security? Absolutely. Did you see the security force that came out for the inauguration of the Pope? Did you see the drone disrupting guns that the Swiss Guard were carrying? I'll put that up from all people also, so you can continue reading about the Dawes Indians. But the councils rejected them, of course. Of course. Those councils are very political, and they are not concerned about their people. And they create division between their own people and between the native Indian population and the federal government as well. This is why you often see conflicts of interest with law enforcement. I've talked about that many times, because they have this whole thing that they do where they want you to recognize all these girls that disappear from reservations, and they have this charity and this big fund and everything that they do. But if anyone from the outside tries to investigate it, they won't let them in, because they're considered like sovereign land. So FBI, sheriff's office, state police, anyone tries to go on that reservation, they'll throw them out. Furthermore, they don't want to admit that it's their own people that are responsible for those disappearances, because they're the ones killing them. Yeah, League says you better stop speaking truth about the Catholic Church before ScrewTube. Oh no, before ScrewTube catches up with me, huh? No kidding. No kidding. Indeed. Indeed. So can he influence the nation's immigration debate? How about no? How about no? You want separation of church and state? Here's your opportunity. Here's your opportunity. And Puck's here. Puck's late. All people says a huge difference between an immigrant and an economic migrant. Correct. Correct. And I'll remind everybody again, tomorrow it'll be 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because I have way too much to do tomorrow. And so I'm not going to make it if I try to do it at 2. So 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll try to remind you all again a little later on before we sign off. Now, on to the dimwit portion. The dimwit portion of today's podcast. We may as well talk about Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett saying something that doesn't surprise me, but that should upset everyone. And this is an independent article. Jasmine Crockett says the Democrats want the safest white boy for the 2028 ticket and have a specific candidate in mind. So Representative Jasmine Crockett has revealed Democratic donors are vying for the safest white boy possible in the 2028 presidential race. The Texas lawmaker joined Democratic National Committee Vice Chair Malcolm Kenyatta Thursday on SiriusXM's Urban View to discuss their party's future following the Democrats' electoral defeats in November. There, Crockett said Democratic donors are already starting to rally behind potential 2028 presidential candidates. Donors are eager for a white man to run. It is this fear that the people within the party, within the primary system, will have about voting for a woman, because every time we voted for a woman, we've lost so far, Crockett says. And she's referring to Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris, obviously. I think that's a natural fear because we just want to win. So there's a lot of people that are like, you know what? Like, let's go find the safest white boy we can find. I mean, I'm just saying. Yep. I'm just saying. And that's her true nature right there. And it should not surprise anyone, although you should be outraged by that attitude. And I say it doesn't surprise me because I've been listening to it my whole life. I've been listening to that double standard my entire life. And that safest white boy, by the way, is Tim Walz, who's been campaigning since he lost the vice presidential bid under Kamala Harris. But that attitude, that whole white boy, you know, that's something that I used to hear a lot when I worked at when I was working for the JJA. A lot of the clientele that I had in the facility were black females, and they used to say if somebody did something that they didn't like, they'd tell them that they were acting like a white girl. Oh, that's just like a white girl. Oh, you look like a white girl. You did that like a white girl. What the hell does a white girl do? I really didn't see you do anything that different, except maybe getting away with making a racial connotation. But this attitude doesn't surprise me. But she'll probably still get elected. She'll probably still get elected. She's pandering to a specific group with that attitude. All people says there's so much violence and abuse and exploitation in the reservation. Most of the crimes are done by tribal members who know they'll never go to prison because the real police are not allowed. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Again, I learned a lot about that when I was living in Kansas. It's a lot of tribes up there. And again, they don't like each other. And a lot of crimes are committed on the reservation. And again, FBI, state police, local county sheriffs. Anybody tries to go in there, they'll kick them out. It's a sovereign land in theory, and so they don't have to let them in. But then they'll cry about it and act like they're being ignored. And that's the manipulation of the tribal councils. Yeah, Nature Nerd telling us the stock market went up after the China trade deal. Yeah, everybody was worried for nothing. Lucky says, check out Canary Cry Radio after this. I've been watching them for a decade. Let's send some people this way. Okay. I'll leave that up there for a second so people can see it. But this doesn't surprise me from Crockett at all. Doesn't surprise me at all. And boy, there's that guy that's talking to her. Who is that guy? He looks very effeminate. I'm tired of looking at fruity dudes everywhere I go. It's just a personal preference. It's just, but I have an issue. I just have an issue. Tired of seeing that. What happened to masculine men? What happened to masculine men? Hell, when I was a kid, even gay dudes were masculine. I mean, come on. Give me a break. Associated Press article. I'm sure you've heard about this. The Newark, New Jersey mayor went the route of F around and find out with ICE. What to know about the Newark's mayor's arrest at an immigration detention center. An immigration detention center in New Jersey is at the center of tensions between three congressional Democrats and the Trump administration after the arrest of Newark's mayor set off a scrum outside the complex. Federal prosecutors charged Newark Mayor Ross Baraka with trespassing after agents arrested him outside the fence of the Delaney Hall Detention Center Friday. The interim U.S. attorney for New Jersey says Bakra, a Democrat who is running for governor, ignored warnings to leave while he was there with three members of New Jersey's congressional delegation at the 1,000-bed Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility. The arrest escalated into a brief but tense confrontation in the parking lot that included the members of Congress and federal agents, some of whom wore masks. Department of Homeland's spokeswoman Tricia McLaughlin has accused Bakra of playing political games. He is, and said over the weekend that an investigation is ongoing that more actions could be taken. The three members of Congress, Representative LaMonica McLeaver, Bonnie Watson Coleman, and Robert Mendez Jr., have accused federal agents of escalating the situation by arresting the mayor. And again, this is an example of F around and find out. That's what that is. F around and find out. How far behind am I on comments? I'm sorry, folks. I'll keep putting them up. I'll keep putting them up. So it says the representatives has said they went to the facility to inspect it as a matter of congressional oversight. You do not have authorization to do that. This is the same game. I've talked about this a bunch of times. Okay. This is the same thing as like Maxine Waters showing up at the Department of Education building without an appointment and being told that she couldn't have access and acting like she's being kept out. These guys showed up and want to pretend like they're going to use congressional oversight to examine the facility. You can't do that without authorization because it's federal. And they know it. So they did it basically for show and tell. They're showing out for the camera. Only in this instance, the mayor got his ass arrested. He couldn't just walk away like Waters and like everyone else. He got caught up and he went to jail. It says Department of Homeland Security officials said the lawmakers had not asked for a tour of the Delaney Hall and that the agency would have facilitated one. Watson Coleman spokesperson Ned Cooper had said that 3 lawmakers were there unannounced because they planned to inspect it, not take a scheduled tour. Again, they don't have the authority to do it. There you go. Armand says, fruity dudes, another sign of the times. And Nature Nerd says, should we make certain Indian reservations their own state? Technically, they are. They're considered sovereign land. It's kind of like the Vatican is not technically part of Italy, but it is. It's the same kind of situation with Indian reservations. Raccoon doesn't like seeing men with a top knot or a man bun. Yeah. Peter says they've reduced male testosterone levels by over 50%. Incredible. Morocco was arrested, booked, and released the same day. He said he had a court appearance scheduled for Thursday. He did that for show. Probably didn't expect to get arrested. Expect to get arrested, but expected to be rejected. And then he could sit there and say, they won't let us in because they're trying to hide something from us. It's like you didn't tell anybody you were coming. They would have let you in. But what Maxine Waters and other Democrats have been doing this all across the country, showing up places that they don't have access to or they don't have appointments for, and pretending like they're being rejected, like their rights are being trampled. Phil is here. He says he's just joining. I'll put that up. I don't know if I can read that one, all people. I might get in trouble. I know I'm behind anyways. No, Peter. Peter says was arrested in the parking lot. If the parking lot is open to the public, then it was an illegal arrest. Not if it's state or federal property. Not if it's state or federal property. The parking lot counts. And it's assumed that if you're parking there to access that facility. It counts as part of the grounds. And if he's there stirring up mess, they're like, dude, you need to leave. And he refuses to leave, even if it's the facility's parking lot, he is trespassing. And I know that from experience because I've seen that same problem with a federal prison. I actually witnessed it with a federal prison. That's how I know. Where somebody was in the parking lot and they were like, no, the parking lot is part of the prison. Caps, yeah, Tampon Tim. Has he went back to the state after the election, or is he still trying to fight the oligarchy with AOC and Bernie Sanders and Harris? He is, I don't know that he has been back to his home state yet. I have no idea. I have no idea. Lucky wants still trying to get me to do 2 hours. I still don't have quite the audience for that, Lucky. I wish I did. I really don't have quite the audience to pull off a 2-hour stretch. And I will remind people, I talked about this at the very beginning. Prepper University was never really intended to house Coffee Talk. So if you are subscribed to Prepper University, please also subscribe to Coffee Talk, because sometime within the next 30 days, I'd like to transfer back exclusively to doing Coffee Talk only on Coffee Talk. Which is this link. If I can get it up there. There it is. So I'd like to get back to doing it exclusively on the Coffee Talk channel. And currently, 2/3 or more people are still viewing it on Prepper University. But Prepper University was really never intended for it, and I'd like to get back to it. So again, if you are subscribed to Prepper University, please also subscribe to the Coffee Talk channel if you enjoy the podcast, because that's where sometime within the next 30 days or so, I'm going to try to transition back. Phil says I do have the audience. He'd listen for 2 hours. Well, I appreciate that, Phil. I appreciate that, Phil. But we, as we get ready to wind up here, here is the debt clock, U.S. debt clock, and looking at the Doge projection is currently at $422 billion in projected savings. It looks like it's about to turn over within the hour to $423 billion in projected savings. And there's a lot more to go. Remember, there was more than 420 federal agencies that were supposed to be examined. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Again, you are listening to and/or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Coffee Talk and Prepper University, at least for now. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. I left that up there from Peter Rouse, excuse me. And you can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. So thank you, everybody who's joining us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation, and we will catch you again tomorrow.